All right, this is problem 1 of test 3. I'm going over the answers because I think a lot of students might want to re-examine some of the problems. Okay, here it is. We're going to find the slope of this line. And the first thing we have to understand for all of these problems on test 3, or for a good many of them, it's all based on the equation of a line. And the first thing to know about lines is they're made of points. No matter what, your line is made of points. 2, there's a slope for every line. 3, when you make a line, one of the points along the way are going to cross the y-axis, and one of the points along the way will cross the x-axis. Okay, so you will have a y-intercept, which is a point on the line that crosses the y-axis. And the x-intercept is the opposite of that. It's a point on the line, because all lines are made of points, that crosses the x-axis. So eventually this line, if we kept drawing it, would cross this axis. Let's go here. So if I had this line, this y-axis extended, because that arrow is what it means, it goes on forever that way. This line would eventually, if I kept drawing it and finding points for it, would eventually cross the y-axis, even though this point does not and this point does not. It doesn't mean that there isn't a point that will. And this point here crosses the x-axis, that is the x-intercept. That point wasn't given when we were given this line or given this problem, but that point still exists, and you can calculate for that point. The bottom line on this particular problem is when you find the slope is defined by many things. As you know, it's m in the y equals mx plus b equation, and it is rise over run, and we have also seen a formula called y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We will get to the use of all these ways of finding slope. In this problem, we're going to use rise over run, because that's just easy. And we have a picture. So rise over run means you're making a fraction. And rise over run is calculated point to point on a line. You start on a point on the line, and you go to another point on the line. And you do it by making a triangle. So the triangle between these 2 points is I have to go down till I am even with this point, and then I go over. So we got to, and then I'm going to walk over till I get to that point, and it makes a little triangle with the line. And this tells me the characteristics of this slope, or the hypotenuse of the triangle. So this direction, when I go down, is negative, and when I go left, it is also negative. And we have to have numbers there, so we count by those little tick marks. 1, you always start with this one. You stand here, but you start counting on the next dot. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I just went 6 down in a negative direction. So that would be my rise. And that will be over a run going in the left or the negative direction, starting here, and I say 1 on the first step. 1, 2, 3. That's -3. So that makes a slope of -6 over -3. We reduce that to +2 because negative over negative is positive. So that's what the answer is to this problem. You didn't have to give me any more. I didn't need an equation. Now the good thing about slope is you can keep finding more points on the line. I can continue this pattern. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then over 1, 2, 3, and that will put me on the line again. It's just another point. So I went down 6 again to make a triangle, and I went over 3. Once we saw the pattern between the 2 points, then we could draw it again and find another point. And actually, since this reduces to 2, it reduces to 2 over 1. And you could do up to, because it's positive, up to over 1 and find a point on the line. Because we can also go, the reason that it works positive or negative is that you can also draw the triangle starting from this point, and we're going to end on this point, going up 6 first. So we start here and we go 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's a positive 6. And we could go to the right, which is positive 1, 2, 3. And look at that. We created a triangle, but from the different direction. And it still comes out. So we created this triangle. It still comes out 6, because the rise now is 6, a positive 6, over a positive run of 3, because we walked to the right, and that still reduces to 2. So it doesn't matter if you start down and go over towards the line, or whether you start up and go over this way towards the line. You will still end up with the same slope of 2.